something sacred about time. You can't see it, but you feel it slipping away. You can't touch it. Every heartbeat reminds you it's leaving. Most people wait for the right moment, the right feeling, the right alignment of stars. Time doesn't wait. It moves quietly, relentlessly, beyond hesitation. If you truly understood the value of a single minute, you'd stop wasting time and start shaping it. Most people think time is something that moves outside of them. They see it as hours on a clock, days on a calendar, a schedule that never stops. But in truth, time is not something external. Time is your life itself, your attention, your awareness, your focus. Wherever your attention goes, your life goes. So if your attention is scattered, your time is lost. If your attention is intentional, your time becomes powerful. The first key to mastering time is awareness, to truly see how you spend it, not just in theory, but in the quiet observation of your daily actions. If you stop for a moment and look back at your last 24 hours, you might begin to notice that much of it was not lived consciously. You may have reacted to notifications, answered calls, scrolled through feeds, or repeated habits you didn't even choose. The day happened, but you didn't really live it. This is not because you are lazy or undisciplined, because awareness was missing. Without awareness, life becomes mechanical. You wake up, you move, you work, you rest, but you don't see what is truly happening. You're like a traveler who keeps walking, but never notices the path beneath his feet. Awareness is what makes time visible. It's like turning on the light in a dark room. Suddenly, you see where your hours are going, and you realize how often you give them away to things that do not matter. When you become aware, you begin to notice the small choices that shape your day. You notice how 5 minutes of distraction turns into 30. You notice how one negative thought can consume an hour of peace. You notice how much of your energy is spent reacting to the world rather than creating from within. Awareness gives you the power to reclaim what is yours, because time is not truly stolen. It is surrendered unconsciously. Awareness is not about judgment. It's not about blaming yourself for being unproductive or wasting time. It's about seeing clearly, without emotion, without excuses. When you observe your patterns with calm attention, change begins naturally. The simple act of seeing a habit begins to loosen its grip. You start to choose instead of react. You start to respond instead of repeat. The more you see, the more control you gain. There's a reason people say that time flies. It's not because time itself moves faster. It's because awareness fades. When you are unaware, moments slip through your fingers like sand. You look up and wonder where the day went. When awareness is present, time slows down. You begin to feel the texture of every moment, the sound of your breath, rhythm of your steps, the quiet between two thoughts. Awareness expands time because it brings you fully into the now. Try this for one day. Observe your time without changing anything. Simply notice. From the moment you wake up, watch where your attention goes. Watch when your mind wanders, when your hand reaches for your phone, when your focus fades. You'll discover that awareness itself starts to transform your behavior. The moment you notice that you are distracted, you are no longer lost. The noticing is already the beginning of change. Awareness also reveals what truly nourishes you and what drains you. You may find that some activities leave you lighter, clearer, more alive, while others leave you anxious, heavy, or tired. When you live without awareness, you keep repeating the same draining cycles because you don't see their cost. But once awareness awakens, you naturally begin to protect your energy. You no longer trade your hours for emptiness. You begin to live on purpose, not by accident. Every moment is a mirror showing you how you are spending your life. Awareness lets you see that mirror clearly. It brings you face to face with the truth of your time. How much of it is used with intention, and how much is scattered in distraction. And in that seeing, transformation begins. The power of awareness is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet and gentle, yet it changes everything. Because the moment you become aware, you stop being a prisoner of time, and you start becoming its master. Clarity is the compass of time. Without it, you may be busy from sunrise to sunset, yet still feel that nothing meaningful has been accomplished. When the mind lacks direction, activity becomes motion without purpose. You run from one task to another, crossing off lists, answering messages, fulfilling demands. Deep inside you feel something essential is missing. It is not more time you need, it is more clarity. When you are clear about what truly matters, every decision becomes simple. The fog of confusion lifts. You stop living in reaction to the world and begin to move from inner intention. Clarity brings stillness to the noise inside your mind, allows you to separate what is important from what is merely urgent, what is purposeful from what is only habitual. Clear mind knows where to invest its time because it understands what the heart values most. Without clarity, time leaks away through countless small distractions. You say yes when you mean no. You give energy to people, places, and things that drain your spirit. You chase goals that belong to someone else's vision of success, not your own. The world pulls you in 100 directions, and because you haven't defined your own, you follow them all. You wake up tired not from effort, from the weight of misaligned priorities. Clarity begins with silence. When the noise of the world quiets, truth begins to whisper. You start to hear your inner voice again. The one that knows what brings peace, what ignites purpose, what feels right even when it's hard. Most people are afraid of silence because in it they meet themselves. But silence is where clarity lives. You cannot find direction in chaos. You find it in stillness. Ask yourself simple questions. What matters most to me? What am I truly seeking? Which actions bring me closer to that purpose and which pull me away? When you ask sincerely, the answers come. Not always immediately. They come. You begin to feel the difference between movement that drains and movement that fulfills. That feeling is clarity. It doesn't always speak in words. Sometimes it's just a quiet sense of knowing, a peace that rises when something is aligned with your truth. Clarity simplifies life. It turns complication into order. You no longer need to force decisions because your path becomes self-evident. When your priorities are clear, your schedule follows. You stop multitasking your life. You stop scattering your focus. You realize that not everything deserves your attention, and that saying no to one thing is often saying yes to something better. Clarity also requires honesty. The willingness to see where you've been wasting time, not because you were busy, because you were uncertain. Many people stay in endless motion because stillness forces them to confront what they truly want. It feels easier to stay occupied than to face confusion. But the longer you avoid clarity, the longer you live disconnected from your deeper calling. Honest reflection may feel uncomfortable at first, but it brings freedom. Once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. You start making decisions that match your values, not your fears. With clarity, time becomes sacred. You no longer measure your day by how much you did, but by how much of what you did mattered. You begin to realize that fulfillment isn't found in quantity, but in depth. 10 minutes of focused effort in alignment with purpose can be more valuable than 10 hours of busy work. When clarity leads, time multiplies in meaning. When your mind is clear, your presence deepens. You stop rushing. You stop comparing. You stop proving. Instead, you begin to live from a quiet sense of direction that doesn't need validation. You know what matters, And that knowing gives every action a quiet strength. Clarity transforms confusion into focus, chaos into calm, and distraction into devotion. It turns time from a fleeting shadow into a purposeful companion. When you live with clarity, your life stops feeling like a race and begins to feel like a journey, one where every step, every breath, every moment has meaning. And that, more than anything, is how you begin to truly maximize your time. Discipline is not about control. It is not about forcing yourself into routines or punishing yourself for failure. True discipline is a quiet agreement with your higher self, a promise that you will not abandon your purpose even when it feels difficult. It is the inner strength that turns good intentions into consistent actions. It is the bridge between what you want and what you become. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it is about harshness, about pushing and grinding until success appears. Real discipline is gentler than that. It is not born from aggression, but from awareness. It comes from understanding that time is sacred and that your attention is a gift you cannot afford to waste. It's knowing that every distraction has a cost. Every wasted hour is a piece of your life you never get back. Discipline is choosing what matters again and again, even when you don't feel like it. The world will always offer you easier paths, a moment of comfort, an escape, distraction disguised as rest. But discipline teaches you to pause, to breathe, and to remember why you started. Asks you to return to the present, to the work that matters, to the effort that aligns with your higher purpose. It's not about perfection, it's about returning to focus each time the mind wanders. The truth is, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your discipline. Motivation will fade, energy will fluctuate, inspiration will come and go, but discipline stays. It doesn't ask you to feel ready, it asks you to show up day after day, quietly, steadily, patiently. It's the consistency that shapes greatness, not the bursts of enthusiasm that appear and disappear. In a world that celebrates speed and comfort, discipline feels like rebellion. While everyone else chases what's easy, you commit to what's necessary. You train your mind to stay still amid noise, to choose effort over distraction, to act even when no one is watching. There's a sacred power in that kind of consistency. It builds strength, not only in what you do, but in who you are. When you live with discipline, time becomes your ally. You stop fighting against the day. You move with rhythm, not resistance. You stop wasting hours waiting for motivation to arrive because you've learned that action brings clarity. You act first, the feeling follows. The disciplined person doesn't wait to feel inspired. They create the space for inspiration to visit. Discipline is also an act of respect. Respect for your purpose, for your gifts, for the limited time you've been given. When you protect your focus, you're honoring the life that's been entrusted to you. You're saying, I value what I've been given too much to waste it. And when you treat your time as sacred, the universe begins to respond in kind. You find yourself surrounded by opportunities that match your focus, by people who value your consistency, by moments that reward your patience. Will always be days when you don't feel strong, days when your mind resists and your energy feels low. Discipline doesn't deny those moments. It simply moves through them. It whispers, just one step more. It reminds you that progress is not built in giant leaps, but in steady footsteps. Running through the park, it's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about not quitting when it gets uncomfortable. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you strengthen your will. Every time you follow through on your word, you build self-trust. You begin to see yourself as someone reliable, someone capable, someone who keeps promises. Quiet confidence becomes the foundation of every success that follows. Discipline shapes character. It sharpens the mind, strengthens the heart, and teaches you that the true victory is not in achievement, but in mastery of self. When discipline becomes a way of living, time no longer feels like something to manage. It becomes something to honor. You stop rushing, you stop escaping. You begin to flow with purpose, grounded, focused, free, and in that stillness of consistency, you discover that discipline was never a restriction. It was the doorway to your highest freedom. Presence is the meeting point between life and awareness. It is where time dissolves and the moment becomes everything. Most people move through their days half awake, caught between memories of what has been and worries about what might be. Their bodies are here, their minds are elsewhere. They live in fragments, never fully touching the wholeness of now. Presence is the art of returning to this exact breath, this sound, this feeling, this heartbeat. It is simple, yet it is the hardest practice of all. The present moment is the only place life truly happens. Everything else is a reflection, the past already gone, the future not yet born. When you are present, you touch the eternal. You experience time not as a line, but as depth. The same minute that feels empty when you are distracted can feel infinite when you are aware. Presence does not add more hours to your day. It expands the meaning of the hours you already have. To be present is to pay attention without judgment. It is to look at what is before you and say, "This is where I am," and it is enough. Most of your suffering comes not from the moment itself, but from your resistance to it. You want things to be different, better, faster, easier. You fight with what is, and in that struggle, you lose peace. But when you surrender to the present, when you let go of the need to control every outcome, a strange stillness arises. That stillness is presence. It brings clarity, calm, and a quiet joy that doesn't depend on circumstances. Presence is not laziness or detachment. It is full participation in life. It means listening when someone speaks instead of preparing your reply. It means tasting your food instead of rushing through your meal. It means breathing with awareness, walking with attention, working with intention. In presence, every action becomes sacred because you are fully there. You stop dividing yourself between what you're doing and what you're thinking. You become whole again. Many people search for meaning as if it is hidden somewhere in the future, but meaning lives here in this conversation. Sunrise, this moment of stillness before sleep. When you are truly present, you realize that nothing is ordinary. The sound of the wind, the warmth of the sun, the rhythm of your breath, these small things become gateways to peace. Presence turns the mundane into the miraculous. To cultivate presence, you must learn to slow down. The world moves fast, and it teaches you to move faster, to chase, to multitask, fill every space with noise. But life is not found in speed. Life is found in awareness. You cannot taste the moment if you rush through it. The more you slow down, the more time seems to open. The clock still moves, but you no longer feel enslaved by it. You begin to experience a calm spaciousness that cannot be measured in minutes or hours. Presence also requires courage, the courage to face what is. When you are present, there is no escape into distractions or fantasies. You see your emotions clearly, your thoughts, your fears, your desires. You meet yourself without filters. Honesty can be uncomfortable at first, but it is also liberating. Only by facing what is real can you transform it. Awareness heals because it brings light to what was hidden. When you are present, even pain changes. Instead of resisting it, you observe it. You give it space to exist, and in that space, it begins to soften. Presence does not eliminate challenges. It changes your relationship with them. You stop being a victim of your emotions and become the observer of them. You begin to understand that every feeling is temporary, clouds passing through a clear sky. The more you practice presence, the more life begins to feel alive. You start to experience time not as a pressure, but as a gift. Each moment becomes an opportunity to connect with yourself, with others, with the quiet pulse of existence that flows beneath all things. Presence brings depth to every breath and peace to every step. And in that peace, you discover that the present moment was never empty. It was always waiting for you to arrive. Simplicity is the quiet wisdom of knowing that less is often more. It is not about living with nothing. It is about living with what truly matters. In a world that celebrates accumulation, simplicity feels almost radical. Every day you are told that happiness lies in having more possessions, more recognition, more achievements, more noise. But the truth is, more you collect, the heavier you become. The more you chase, the more restless your spirit grows. Simplicity is not a loss, it is a return to peace, to clarity, to balance. When your life is cluttered with too many things, too many obligations, too many thoughts, your energy becomes scattered. You wake up already exhausted because your attention is pulled in 1,000 directions. You think you are managing time, but really you are managing chaos. Simplicity is the act of clearing the unnecessary so that the essential can breathe. It's like opening the windows of a crowded room and letting fresh air in. To live simply, you must learn to let go. Let go of possessions that no longer serve you, relationships that no longer align, habits that drain your spirit. Let go of the constant need to prove your worth through what you own or accomplish. The deeper truth is that you do not need to add more to your life to feel fulfilled. You need to release what keeps you from feeling alive. Simplicity is not about subtraction for its own sake. It is about creating space for meaning to enter. Simplicity begins in the mind. A cluttered mind cannot find peace even in a quiet room. Thoughts of the past and worries about the future create noise that drowns the stillness of the present. When your mind is filled with endless to-do lists, comparisons, and doubts, time slips through unnoticed. Simplicity of mind means focusing on one thing at a time. It means trusting that what is before you deserves your full presence. When you simplify your thinking, even the most complex day begins to unfold with ease. You may believe that simplifying your life means giving up ambition or progress, but simplicity does not limit growth. It amplifies it. It directs your energy toward what is meaningful instead of scattering it across what is trivial. It sharpens your focus, strengthens your discipline, and brings depth to your purpose. A tree grows not by spreading in all directions, by sending its roots deep into the earth. In the same way, simplicity anchors you so that your efforts grow stronger and your results last longer. Simplicity is also an act of honesty, requires you to look at what you have created in your life and ask, does this serve me? Does this bring peace or confusion? Many people fear asking these questions because the answers might require change. Every time you release something that no longer fits, you create room for what does. Life has a natural rhythm of holding on and letting go, and simplicity teaches you to trust that rhythm. When you live simply, your appreciation deepens. You begin to notice beauty in small things. The warmth of a cup of tea, the sound of rain, the quiet smile of someone you love. You no longer rush past these moments because you are not trying to keep up with the noise of the world. Simplicity slows you down in the most healing way. It teaches you that joy doesn't come from adding more, from seeing more clearly what is already there. Simplicity also brings freedom. The fewer things you depend on, the less control the world has over you. You stop being enslaved by comparison or envy because you no longer measure yourself by others' abundance. You find peace in contentment, power in restraint, and beauty in clarity. When you strip away what's unnecessary, you begin to see your life for what it truly is. Already full, already whole, already enough. Simplicity turns time into something sacred. Without clutter and confusion, your hours breathe again. Each moment feels lighter, cleaner, more intentional. You are no longer rushing to keep up, you are walking with purpose. And in that calm rhythm, you realize that simplicity was never about having less. It was always about making space for what truly matters to stay. Reflection is the quiet moment when life reveals its lessons. It is the pause between one breath and the next, between what has happened and what is yet to come. Most people move from one day to another without ever stopping to look back, repeat the same patterns, make the same choices, and wonder why nothing changes. But reflection is the bridge between experience and growth. Without reflection, even the richest experiences remain shallow. With it, even the smallest moments can become teachers. When you take time to reflect, you begin to see your life more clearly. You see not only what you did, but why you did it. You notice the emotions that guided your choices, the habits that shaped your day, the thoughts that directed your time. Reflection is not about judgment or regret, it is about understanding. It allows you to see yourself with gentle honesty, to recognize both your progress and your resistance. In that awareness, transformation begins quietly, like the first light before dawn. Every day holds a lesson. You can only receive it if you are willing to listen. The world moves fast and silence has become rare. Growth does not happen in the noise of constant motion. It happens in the stillness that follows it. Reflection is that stillness, a sacred space where your mind can rest and your heart can speak. When you slow down long enough to ask, "What did today teach me?" the answers begin to rise from within. Sometimes they whisper softly, sometimes they arrive like thunder. They always come. Reflection also reveals patterns that go unnoticed in the rush of living. You begin to see where your time truly goes, what brings you peace and what brings you stress. You start to recognize the same thoughts that appear again and again, the habits that drain your energy, the fears that keep you small. This awareness is not meant to burden you, it is meant to free you. When you can see your patterns clearly, you can choose differently. You stop moving in circles and begin to move forward with intention. To reflect is to return to yourself. It is an act of self-connection, of remembering who you are beneath all the noise and expectation. Many people spend their lives trying to fix what's outside, their work, their relationships, circumstances, without realizing that true change begins within. Reflection brings you back to that truth. It reminds you that you are not defined by what happened, but by what you learn from it. Reflection also deepens gratitude. When you look back with awareness, you begin to notice moments of grace that once passed unnoticed. A kind word, challenge that made you stronger, a delay that turned into a blessing. Gratitude grows naturally from reflection because seeing clearly always reveals how much you've been given. Even your struggles start to look different. They are no longer just obstacles, invitations to rise. At the end of each day, take a few quiet minutes to turn inward. Ask yourself not just what you did, but how you lived. Were you present or distracted? Did you act from love or from fear? Did you spend your time in alignment with what truly matters? These simple questions carry profound power. They bring your awareness back to the center. They make tomorrow more conscious, more deliberate, more alive. Reflection turns time into wisdom. It transforms ordinary days into steps of evolution. Without it, you may live many years but never grow. With it, even a single day can open your eyes. The person who reflects does not fear mistakes running through the park, Because they understand that every mistake carries a message. They do not cling to the past because they have already learned from it. They move through life with clarity, humility, and peace. When reflection becomes a daily rhythm, time no longer feels wasted. Each experience becomes meaningful because you have drawn something from it. You begin to live with awareness, not repetition, with direction, not drift. Reflection is not the end of action. It is what gives action its depth. It is the pause that prepares you to move forward with greater wisdom, greater compassion, greater purpose. And in those quiet moments of looking within, you come to see that life was never asking you to be perfect, only to be aware. Reflection makes every day a teacher and every moment an opportunity to begin again. Time is the one gift we all receive equally. It is the one treasure most easily lost. Each sunrise brings 24 hours, not of routine, but of potential. How you use those hours determines who you become. You can spend them reacting, running, repeating, or you can spend them awake, aware, aligned with purpose. The truth is, life is not measured by how long we live, but by how deeply we live. Some people exist for decades and never awaken. Others touch the fullness of life in a single conscious moment. Time does not serve those who drift through it. It serves those who honor it. Every breath, every thought, every heartbeat is a reminder that this moment will never return. What you do now echoes far beyond today. Your focus becomes your future. Your choices create your destiny. And every time you choose awareness over distraction, clarity over confusion, discipline over delay, presence over haste, simplicity over chaos, and reflection over reaction, you step closer to your highest self. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop wasting what you cannot replace. There will never be a better moment than now to begin. Clock does not slow for hesitation, but it bends for those who live with intention. So live awake, live aware, live on purpose. Let your time become your testimony that you did not merely exist, you lived. That you did not just count the hours, you made them count. Because in the end, it will not matter how much time you had. What will matter is how fully you used the time you were given.